I'm just going to do my usual spiel. So hello, Coffee with a Codex. This is actually not an official Coffee with a Codex. This is me, Porter, showing MS Codex 85 to a couple of people who missed when Nick showed this manuscript. So here we go. So what is this book? This is a late 15th century collection of papal bulls. So these are, papal letters and instruments dealing with the order of the Eremite Friars of St. Augustine, that is the Augustinians, which is a monastic order. So it's a collection of documents relating to the order. I'm going to guess that it was made by someone or in the order to sort of document the growth of the Augustinian order. It was written in Italy. Where in Italy? In Italy, probably Crema, circa 1506. And it says 1506 because of a note on 124 Verso. So let's go ahead and look at 124 Verso. And as I turn through this, you can see it's written in a nice 15th century humanistic script. It's got these pretty illuminated initials. And I'll go back to the first page because the first page had a lot of illuminations on it. But as we go through, it's got these illuminations. I was noticing earlier, it also has decorations in the margins. So we'll be sure to have a look at those as well. So 124 Verso, I'm guessing that's going to be the here are some of these pretty sort of almost floral decorations of different colors. 124 Verso. Let's see. Oh, Cremens, Cremensis Ortus Lombardi. Is there anything that looks like a date? Unfortunately, my Latin is very poor, but I'm going to trust the cataloger that there is a date. See a date, and I would expect it to be at the end, but guess not. Maybe it's over here. So this is sort of the last part. Frater. It says it contains an attestator. An attestator. Is that like a I wish Amy were here. I think that's like a it's similar to what do you call it? When the scribe signs it. So an attestator by Gregorius Franciotus, Frater Antonius de Melis Cremensis, the prior Conventus Sancti Augustini Lucae. I'm reading from the record right now, by the way. Okay. Oh, and then another copy. This is a copy of a notarial statement by someone else. So, all right. So we have some of those at the end, but the most of the document is these papal letters. So let's start at the beginning, begin at the beginning. And really, the most impressive page is this one here, where we have a really solid marginal gold, illuminated thing there. And oh, did I not spotlight? Oh, I didn't spotlight. There we go. There we go. So we have this great set of marginal illuminated leaves here. And then when we come to the bottom, we have, I'm guessing that's St. Augustine, but I'm not sure. Let's see what the record says. What does the record say? Illuminated border of blue grapes and gold leaves on a pink background. A portrait of a bishop or pope in the lower margin. So it doesn't try to say who that is. But there are grapes. I didn't even notice. I was so distracted by those pretty leaves that I didn't notice that the grapes were there. So there's the grapes. And then on the left, we have some kind of, let's see, some kind of notes. Folios 3 Verso contain many notes in Italian in the hand of the former owner, Federico Pateta. Or Patata. So that is his notes on this side here. And let's see, when did he own this book? He owned it. Oh, it doesn't say. It was formerly owned by him. He signed it later at the end of the book. And it looks like he's the one who says it was written 10th April, 1506. There, so that's the date that he wrote in there. Let's see. And I'm not going to guess when exactly he owned it. It was sold to us by a bookseller in Florence in 1957. So we've had this book for quite a while. Here's where we start the letters. And the names here, we have Nicholas, we have Boniface. These are the names of popes. And so the contents they're copies of these letters that popes wrote about the Augustinians. And the names of the popes are all listed in the record. And I opened up their Wikipedia pages just because I thought it would be interesting to see who they are. So this is a letter, Pope Sixtus IV, who was Pope from 1471 until he died in 1484. So he was a late 15th century Pope. Nicholas, where's Nicholas? They're not in order. Nicholas V was Pope from 1397. No, that was his birth date, sorry. 1447 until he died in 1455. So he was a little earlier. So they're out of order. They're not in any kind of chronological order. So, and it looks like the Pope's name sort of prefaces the letter. And maybe, let's see, they also each get one of these little decorative margins. So here's Pope Urban and Alexander and Martin. The scribe has also numbered them. So if we zoom in a little bit, so here's Martin, you'll see there's a little 5 there out in the left margin there. So that will help if you're reading through this, then you can say, well, it's letter number 5 or letter number 4, and you know immediately which pope was responsible and what number it is in the book. So that would be sort of helpful. I like these colored marginal decorations to sort of introduce each one. Because it's an example, it's one of these kinds of manuscripts that I like, where there's no reason for it to be really pretty, and yet it still has a little bit of pretty here. Innocent. So I'm just going to keep turning the page, and we'll see if anything else interesting. Is there anything in particular that you all were interested in with regards to this manuscript, or anything you want to see, or is this fine to just sort of look through it?
It's fine for me to look through it. I had a question about why would they have compiled, what would have been the purpose? would it be to document like the history of the relationship between the Catholic Church and this order, or why would they have done this, and what purpose would it have served? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it kind of makes me wish that I knew more about the history of the Augustinian order, because is it notable that it was written in April of 1506? Maybe there was something happening with the order, and it was in their interests to have a compilation of because I'm assuming, not knowing anything really about this specifically, my assumption would be that these are about the founding of the order and the running of the order. And as you said, like the relationship between the church and the order in the past, sort of documenting that past history. And so maybe there was something happening in 1506 that made it necessary for the order to, and I am making an assumption that it was somebody from the order that did this, as opposed to somebody, because who else, who else would do it? I don't know. But as a way for them to maybe bring this to the church to say, hey, look, this relationship has been important to us. And so, yeah, now I'm curious. Maybe I'll do a quick
Me too.
search of the Augustinians.
The other question I had was about the structure of the papal letters. It starts with the name of the Pope, and then is there like a common structure or common set of contents that you find in one of these documents, or it's just all about whatever was happening with the order at that time?
So I'm not familiar with the contents so much. So I'm not the person to answer that question, but I'm sure that if you looked up, looked for people who do work on these sorts of documents, that you'd find a lot of information about that. They seem to be of various lengths. So I was just noticing that this one is it's like several pages long. Here. Yeah, see, it's like pages. I don't even know where this started. But then, it starts here. So this is one. And this does not start with the name of a pope either. So I am not sure.
Which,
but it mentions.
leaf is that?
So this is 18 Verso. This one starts on 18 Verso. But I am seeing the names of several popes here. So I see, let's zoom in a little bit. I see Innocent and Boniface and Alexander, Urban, Clements. So this might be, this is in the middle of a section. So the first section goes from, I think it says 1 to, where'd we go? I have too many tabs open. Section 1 is 1 through 31. So we're sort of in the middle of the first section, and there appears to be this long, actually this goes all the way from 18 Verso to 31 Verso. So this is the whole end of that first section is a longer thing. And if you're interested in this section specifically, apparently our manuscript, MS Codex 736, has the same section. It says in the record, text on 1 through 31 of this manuscript is the same as 1 through 28 in MS Codex 736. So you might also take a look at MS Codex 736, which I actually opened the record. So let me see if I have that. If I'd known, if I'd planned ahead, I would have actually pulled that one off the shelf as well. But
no worries. I was able to pull it up on the website too, so I'm looking at it
now.
Okay,
great. So there's that. So and then we're back in the second section, it's funny, the record says it's in 2 sections, but this just seems to sort of start another, maybe it's this longer section that divides them up. And now we're back to Sextus. So we're back to, or Sixtus, back to these. I just want to point out, I've been noticing these as I've been paging through. In the bottom margin, some of these have these decorated, what do you call them when they go below? Yeah, but they're pretty. It's really pretty. Like the script is really pretty. It was not, and the parchment's really nice too. Oh, here's more of these. And then we're in the second section. This is a lot of Sixtus here. This is like all Sixtus. I'm also seeing what looks like catchwords at the end of the choirs, which I always like to see. Oh, this is so pretty. And nothing in the margins. I'm not seeing any marginal notes. Oh, I say that, and then here's something written in a margin. I think this is I see what they're doing. So there's 2 little lines ahead of this word, and then there's 2 little lines there, and it looks like the scribe skipped a word. And so he's gone to put it back in. But I'm not seeing a lot of these errors. I don't know if you two were here on last week, Wednesday, but it was like we looked at an earlier manuscript, and it was like there were multiple errors that were fixed on every page, which was sort of interesting. Oh, here's more. See, I say I didn't see any, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing more errors. Looks like here he skipped a whole line. And so a careful copy, but not so careful that he didn't make mistakes. But then they went through and fixed them again. So here they're putting the line in there. And I'm not sure it's the same hand. The ink is different on the fixes, so I'm not sure if it's the same. Sometimes it's so hard to tell, like even if the ink changes, it could look like a different scribe, even if it's the same scribe. Yeah, Kadi, love the margin notes. I like the margin notes too, even if it's only corrections. Corrections, that's the word I've been looking for. I'm saying error fixes. Oop, here's innocent. I like the colorful marginal decorations, just because I think they're not very good. Like they're really solid. That's what it is. They're very solid. Usually when you have marginal notes like this, I'm used to seeing them with sort of maybe with gold, gold ink or even black ink to sort of make some kind of texture, and there's no texture. It's just sort of solid. Although there's a little attempted texture here, but it hasn't worked very well. I think that the artist who made these they were doing their best, and it's not necessarily great art, but I don't care. Ooh, here, there's a lot of error correction here in between the lines. There's like, here they've added it interlinearly instead of putting it out in the margin. I think maybe this is a different person doing the correcting, because they've done it over here as well. So I think the main text was written by one person, but I'm seeing maybe two different people, at least at this point, doing the correcting. And there's a lot of corrections here. Here's a whole word. These little dots underneath it indicate that that's to be erased. That's saying don't, or deleted, like don't pay attention to this word, which is sort of interesting. Let's see. Oh, and now we have some blank leaves. I'm curious as to where that's the middle of a choir. That's the middle of, oh, interesting. I think that's the start of a choir. Maybe? No. It's like this ended and then they left several pages blank, and then they start here with frater. I don't know what this is. Something about the Augustinians, Augustinian brothers. Interesting. Ooh, here's a date, 1490. Yeah, they had no whiteout by then, back then. And they had no whiteout back then, not until one of the Monkees band members' mom invented it. I remember that. The one that I like the best, whose name is now escaping me, in the Monkees. All right, and here we have more of these pretty initials with that sort of very heavy paint. Now this is also these are not Pope names. This is Beatissime Pater. Well, maybe that's just not his name. Beatissime Pater. Let's look at. I don't know. But we seem to have moved to another section of texts that are doing something. Having me wish that my, ooh, okay, this is different. This is better. This is nice. Let's see. This is really different because look, see, I was saying earlier that I expected sort of more gold in those colorful initials. This is what I meant. Like there's texture there. And I love these. It looks almost like Christmas decorations around the edges, except for the skulls. I guess that's not very Christmassy.
I was gonna
That's
say
more
the skull.
that's more, it's a little more Halloween, maybe. I'm sure, but wow, look at that. That's really nice. Look at these books. Oh, they've got little books there at the bottom. Oh, I love this. I don't remember ever seeing this page before. That's so neat. All right, so, but I'm not sure that the record says anything about what is this. This is 71 recto. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong, I'm looking at the wrong catalog record. It's like red initials throughout. That's not right. All right, 71 recto. Illuminated border of gold and red ropes hung with fruit, books, a pitcher, and skull and crossbones. Oh, so Nick has identified this as being from the workshop of Giovanni Pietro de Chemo. Nick has a PhD in art history with a specialization in Italian artists. So I would say that he is, if it's a Nick Herman attribution, that's probably right. And he lived until 1507. So this would have been a very, if this was made in 1506 and he died in 1507, this could have been one of his last books, which maybe would explain why they seem unfinished. The earlier part of it seems, I'm opening it. So that could be unfinished. But then I'm like, why is this last part this seems to be a lot more mature than the earlier part. So, but I'm not an art historian at all, so I don't actually know. But I think this is the same scribe here. And then we're back to these sort of plain initials. Maybe I'm going to ask Nick about this because I'm curious, because it could be that it was somebody in his workshop who did most of the work, like a younger person, and then a more mature, maybe even he himself did that page. But this even seems nicer than the ones that were before. Maybe not. Maybe they're the same. As I say, I am not an art historian, so don't judge me for my lack of art historical knowledge. I'm sort of skipping ahead. And now we're back to Nicholas, Clemens. We're back to our Pope names here. All right. Pius. Now we're at our Pius section. Yeah, I would like to know more about the specifics of the content and also the ordering, because it's not, the catalog is clear that it's not in chronological order, but there must be some kind of order to it. So I'd be curious. Here's another correction there. Oh, this is fun. Half blue or half green and half red. Innocent Raphael. Oh, there was a pope named Raphael. Let's see, and we're almost to the end. And then at the end, we have more notes by this earlier owner. And this is, I'm pretty sure, a description of the manuscript, probably cut from a sales catalog. So I'm going to guess when he bought it, he cut it out and put it here. And then these are his notes about what he knows about the manuscript. Yeah, Pateta. There he is. Interesting. So, right, before we go, I want to take a quick look at the binding, which is sort of messy. So it's been chewed on here and there's them there. But when was this binding? So the binding is 16th century Italian brown calf. So this is, it doesn't say it's original. It could be original. It could be later in the century. It was rebound. It has these little holes, not quite holes, but it looks like there were probably straps that were attached here, like leather threads maybe, that would have been tied to sort of tie the book together. And this, the spine has been repaired at some point, but a really early point with this tanned leather. And then there's this label on the top that was written. I actually noticed this book at first because I was looking for fragments, because I do this Fragment Friday thing. And there's a little fragment in the binding. You can barely see it, but it's right there.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
You see that?
What
And
is
it's got
in there?
I don't know. It's a little piece of parchment and it's got teeny tiny writing on it.
That's
And there's even
fascinating.
there's even a red initial. Isn't that neat? No clue, but I think it's very neat. So a neat, kind of weird, not a weird manuscript. It's a very straightforward manuscript, but I feel like it has a lot of mysteries that could be solved. So any last questions or anything you want to see again before I close it up? Because it's been about a half hour.
The Raphael, I also don't know a pope named Raphael. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like
Maybe it was somebody else they're
I
referring
think
to.
it could have been because the
I'll
only
Google.
Raphael is there an angel called Raphael? I don't know
I
what I'm
think
talking
so.
about.
That sounds about
I
right.
don't know who it could have been. I opened up all the Pope pages and there's Eugene, there's Martin. I will admit there are a lot of popes that I don't know, but I think you probably know a lot more Pope names than I do. And if it doesn't sound familiar, if Raphael doesn't sound familiar to you, then I'm gonna go with you on that. All right. So
Well, thank you very much.
yeah, you're welcome. This was fun for me too. I love to be able to go through. It's like an excuse to look at a book. And I'm glad that you both sort of missed I'm not glad that you missed Nick's presentation, but I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. So
Same.
great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I hope I'll see you guys again another time.